Okay. Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to be talking with Dr. Cassie Huckabee. I'm really excited about this. She is a specialist in quantum medicine, and I'm so curious as to what that actually means. There she is. All right, let me go ahead and invite her in. Send her. Just give it a second. There she is.
It's good to see you.
Hello. Good to see you too. I'm so excited for this. I'm
Yes,
so grateful too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I saw an interview with you and Dr. Tommy John. He's a friend of mine. I did an interview with him a while back, and we connected. And I was like, "Oh, she's awesome. I want to connect with her."
Awesome. Yeah, he's great.
So, I first of all, again, I appreciate you coming on to this and giving your time and your energy towards connecting with me and my audience. But I just want to start by you introducing yourself and you talking maybe a little bit about why you are the way you are, where how you got to this point, and your red pill moment, the moment that kind of shifted you towards pursuing true healing and this awareness of this reality.
Yeah, so I grew up in West Texas, so everything was very conventional, very traditional. I trusted everything. I was kind of naive in the way that I went through life. I was planning on going to allopathic medical school, had everything planned out, went through, just standard medicine growing up, but did grow up on a farm because it was kind of two different worlds to some degree. But for the most part, everything was very conventional. Then in college, pursuing my medical degree, I got really sick and then was vaccinated, and then everything just kind of tipped over. And then so at that point, when got diagnosed with multiple autoimmune conditions, was told by the medicine that I was choosing to give my life to that they couldn't do anything for me. And then I just had this moment of, then what am I doing? Why would I give my whole entire world to something that had no solution for me? And I would never want to be in that position with somebody that I would be working for as a patient, to just tell them I have nothing for you. I cannot do anything for you. You got the short end of the stick. Good luck. Go home. You can suppress for the rest of your life, but be prepared to lose your vision, lose your sensation, not be able to have children. And so that was my wake up moment of like, that's not good enough for me. I don't know what else there is, but I just know that isn't going to cut it for me. And so it really, through a bottoming out, opened my eyes to being available to other options. And through that, I came across an integrative clinic and then eventually met a naturopathic doctor. And when I met him, I was like, I don't know what you are. I've never heard that word before. All I know is that what I see that you're doing is more true and more real than anything I've ever experienced in my life. And I want that. And me personally, for my own healing journey, was like, I need it for myself. Because this may be my only hope. The other one said no. And this one says there's a possibility. So then I became completely enamored with potential possibilities, the things that the world says you can't do, but you can go look and somebody's done it. And I became obsessed with that. So throughout medical school, I used the medicine, I used the herbs, I used everything that I was learning because I was, to be quite honest, trying to prove it to myself. If this works, then at the end of this, I should be better than how I was when I started. And so I just used myself as an experiment. And I did trial and error. I tasted every herb. I did every lifestyle thing because I no longer wanted to look into a book to see what was possible for me. And so that approach completely changed my life. I now can't be diagnosed with anything. And it's one of those things when you experience it, you can't ever look away. And it doesn't matter what the world tells you, you know what's possible. And so when you're in love with that, when you're passionate about that, you can't give anything else to anybody else. And so then I became obsessed with working with people and helping them get outside of the system through remembering what is true in them and knowing that can't be written in a textbook for the most part. What creates nature is what creates you, and we're so dynamic, so remarkable in our capacity that the only way to truly know what we have within us is to start experiencing it, right? And so that just opens the door to everything within this structure, this society, medicine, government, everything. It just started peeling back all
It's
the
all
layers.
connected.
It's all connected.
Well, I love that you said that, like, it's not in a book, and it really is this like shift of perspective from, oh, I went to school and I was taught this, and this, and I know this stuff, and it's like, well, did you practice it? Did you actually put that into practice, see how it feels in your body? Exactly. And that's the difference. That wisdom and that discernment truly don't just come from being taught. It's like you got to do the work.
Yeah, no, and what you just said is so powerful, because there's a difference between learning to gather intellect, right? That's what's going on in society right now, is we are consumers of intellectual information, right? Garbage, like positive, whatever. We're still accumulating. The wisdom comes when you apply something that you learned. So if you have learned that you are within a structure that makes you a lab rat, the wisdom is understanding that you're in a cage. And then the wisdom is also not just reading about what life is like in a cage and who put you in the cage and why they put you in a cage and why they wanted you in the cage. It's the alternative of, okay, I'm in a cage. The wisdom now is seeking out information of, how do I get out of the cage? What am I going to do once this gate is opened up? What are the action things that get me to this thing that I want? Not am I just going to accumulate, sit in my cage, eat the food, drink the water, and read about what it would be like to be on the outside of the cage, right?
I love that. It's like being aware of the cage.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like being aware of the cage. That's not physical cage, but it's like there's this mental cage that we put ourselves into.
Absolutely.
Limiting ourselves from even pursuing those things because of what we've been taught or whatnot.
Exactly. And we're all, we're all there, right? You and I didn't come here because we just came into the world, untouched by all of this. I think the beauty of all of this is everybody comes from a different angle. And we all eventually get to this like heartbreaking moment of like, I've been lied to about so much, and I have digested it as if it were truth. And then I have applied it, and I have lived life in a way shaped by that belief system. And it's heartbreaking to go back and unwind all of those things, but it's that remembering of what's true in you, and that, releasing the grasp on all of these things. That's the journey, that's the healing, that's these quantum shifts, right? That can even change the collective, that can change anything that you see within your physical body, and then that ripples outwards too, because you can't separate the two. And so I think it's a beautiful thing for all of us to come and ask even, what was your moment and how did you get here, and how are we all coming to this center ground of like, none of these things feel true. And like what feels true is not written in any book I've read, and it won't be, right? So we start writing and changing the language of this time and the truth and uncovering what's real. So I love that we're all, like, it's all of us, all at once.
Yeah, we're all together. Yeah, I love that. You mentioned quantum, so I'm curious because you have on your bio there quantum medicine. So expand on that. I'm very curious. I have my own perspective and mind of what that means, but I want to know yours.
Right. So I got into the field of studying quantum mechanics, quantum physics, because I was curious about the nature of the world that we live in. And most of everything, again, that I read couldn't even touch the magnitude of what I felt was true here. And so then when I came into them trying to put language to this metaphysical background, I became fascinated by it. And it was like, I feel like this is closer to the truth of what's possible for us, right? They measure photons, electrons, all of these other different
double
things.
slit theories.
Exactly. But you can look at it as, these things show me my potential. These things show me something true within me. Then if you can apply that to the human being, to the human process, we become unlimited, which is more true than anything that we've been taught before. And so I started looking to that as something, not to tell me what's true or was a law or a rule, but something that shows us more of our potential. And then, just to simplify it, right, because quantum seems like it's something so far away from us that we need a device, we need something to tap into this world, but then to realize that we are the most advanced quantum devices on the planet. We have everything that you could possibly need to interact with this entire universe, everything written within the metaphysical background. You have everything in you to interact and to speak the language of all of this that is going on, the seen, the unseen, the felt, the unfelt. It's absolutely phenomenal. And then when you start elevating your standards of what is possible in a human body, what is possible for the human mind, what is possible for the human experience, you need something that can kind of have the language, right? It's not that it's never existed before, it's that our technology is finally advancing to a point where we can kind of language to some beautiful things, right? And so I became, completely just captivated by all that's around us, all that we don't see, but the fact that it touches us and we touch it back, right? Just the act of observing something collapses potentials and makes it a possibility, makes it part of your reality. So then with working with human beings, optimizing the human, optimizing the experience, optimizing what it is to be alive during this time, I couldn't ignore the fact that we're bathing in this and just act like everything is just, what we can see and what we can take and what we can eat and what we can do, right? What else is here available to us? And the most beautiful thing that I found is if you get it to the most simplest, right? The truth that you can find is that your life is your medicine. And they have stripped that away from us so that they could then sell stuff back to us. But if you knew the nature of the world that you lived in, you would be blown away and completely in love every single second of every single day. You would walk outside and know that the sun hitting your skin was medicine, that breathing in the electric air was medicine. By touching the ground, you got powerful medicine. Some of these things we don't even have the tools to adequately measure or put names to. And you're bathed in it for free every single day. And if we knew that, what kind of world would we be in if we fell in love again? Like if we remembered the romance between us and the world that we live in. It's like this beautiful, and if we could bathe in that every single day, what would our world, how would we, go through life, and what would we think of instead of thinking of everything that could go wrong in us? What would a world look like if we could think about everything that's going right and could go even better? Something unimaginable, the miracles, the magic, the things that we don't even have the capacity to understand. And so this was the world that I wanted to start interacting with. This is the level of medicine that I thought would be something beneficial to people because it could get them out of the model. Because if you're operating at this level, you don't need it.
Yeah, I love that. I love your perspective. I think it's beautiful to pursue, to go to the basic, right? To go to the small and see how connected we are from there, and then expand out. But how do you so practically speaking, what would you you have a patient that comes in and you see that that's where they're at. What is it that you teach to practically get them to that point? Because I know you're kind of aligning with a lot of your posts, which is don't focus on the symptoms, focus on the possibility, on the potential. So what is it that you actually tell them?
Yes. So when I do the medicine part, right, because we've got to get ourselves out of the muddy water to ever be able to be in the clean water. And so what we have to do is we have to undo everything that has brought us to this point. Because, say that you and I were meeting for the first time today and we were trying to get you to a point of optimal, right? Because when you're optimal, then you don't need me. The only reason you would come to me is because we're needing to get to a point that's optimal. And so in order to do that, I have to understand you. Because if we're talking about all of these different things impacting you as the individual, me putting you into an algorithm is not going to serve you. Me assuming that light touching your skin does in you exactly what it does in somebody else is not serving you. So the way that I have to do it is I have to get to know the individual in front of me. So we use modern lab testing. We use all of those different things as an input, as a snapshot in time to give us information. But the most important thing is for me to know you. me to know how you use language, me to know how you see your world, me to know what limiting beliefs you play out every single day, me to know what you think of when you think sunlight hitting your skin. Do you think cancer? Do you think healing? Because that's what's important. The input is less important than what you do internally before the output. You're the receiver. And so we've got to make sure that this is working. And then you can use the world as your medicine. But if you're one of those that's not there yet, we can't. We've got to be with the human being. And so I do that through, understanding what programs do we have running. What parts of your basic human physiology is not optimal? Because if you're going to go chase down all of these zebras, these genetic defects, all of these different things, but you're not even eliminating properly, what the hell are we doing, right? To go to this next level, you have to take the first step. You've got to do what is closest to you before you go and be like, no, I want to. But then the other thing that I do too is I'm never going to you. I'm going to say, okay. Because the truth is in an instant, in a moment, if you believed it fully and you paired it with an emotion that carried the magnitude of that belief and you coupled that together, you could get yourself out of it in that moment. So I work with people wherever they're at with the expectation that in a moment, that maybe this first visit might be the only one that you need because it's going to help you learn the language of your body. And so I always liken it to like two people working together on a project. If they don't speak the same language, if they speak two totally different languages, could they get the project done eventually? Yes. Would it take 10 times longer? Yes. Would they make a shit ton of mistakes along the way? Yeah, most likely. And then you pair them up with two people that speak the exact same language. Could you get results faster, quicker, and maybe an innovative approach along the way because they were speaking the same language? Yes. So then my job as a practitioner is to learn the language of your body. And how I learn that is through your symptoms. They tell me something. I'm never looking at you saying, let's suppress this, let's suppress the acne, let's suppress why you have gas and bloating and diarrhea. No, I'm saying, why would your perfect body in this way? And why? And then why? And then when you get to the reason, then it all starts unwinding. And that's the journey of the person, and it's never me doing it. It's them, and then on their side, they touch this quantum world because they realize nobody touched them. They can't outsource their healing to anyone. It was them the whole time. And the fact that we don't use something that you can only get through me. We use those things in the natural world, right? And then you know how to be in your world and be well and use the things that are here to be medicine for you as medicine, as tools. And so it liberates you through the process.
I love that. It really is essentially, if I'm trying to summarize kind of what you said, you're trying to give the person back their power to know their body and to get into their body and heal themselves, truly, and give them that awareness to heal themselves.
Absolutely. And it's less of me giving and them remembering. And
yes, remembering,
right?
yes.
Because even if they start looking towards me as the one giving them something, then we're still using this formula that doesn't empower the human being. And so part of what I think you're doing for the world through your platform and what I'm doing, we're doing it all in different ways, but we're trying to demolish the formula. That formula no longer works, right? And we've got to take it back to the individual. We've got to take it back to you've had the power the whole time, but you've been believing stories that said you didn't. And then through your uncertainty in yourself, they then could come in and sell you something with certainty that would have value to you because you would think that you needed it. And so what we're trying to do is get rid of that old formula. It doesn't work anymore. It's not true. Give it back to the people. And then let's see what the world looks like with a bunch of people remembering their power, remembering that there is, like anytime you look at a hierarchy, it's untrue. If you're ever looking to somebody because they have something that you don't, that's not true. If you can see it, then realize that whatever is in them is in you. And maybe just start expressing that within you because it's all just a potential being expressed. And if somebody else has the potential to heal, to do something amazing, to live a vibrant life, then you have it all too. And we need to start being mirrors for each other, like, wow, how did you do that? What is within you that I want to have within me? And like use each other as, just mirrors to make us all grow and change the resonance of this planet and the potential of what life could be like living here.
Love that. And you mentioned that you did go through a medical, how do you say, just a huge medical awakening, right?
Yes.
Yourself.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? I don't know if you mentioned that.
That was, so back when I was in undergrad, and then I was diagnosed with everything the year before I started medical school. So that was about 6 to 7 years ago now, having all of those work given to me. And then within 4 years of medical school, doing the work completely.
So I know that there's, so I know that there's a healing journey, obviously, and you're learning yourself. I've been through one in these last 3-4 years myself. But and then I got to a moment, especially because of last year, 2020, I felt the need to start speaking out and I had this urge to like save people, tell as many people as possible. When did that shift for you? Was it 2020 or was it before that?
The speaking out.
Yeah, just like being verbal about it and really like your platform, like using your platform to speak out about it.
Right. So I think personally I was speaking out about it within like the confines of my practice and those around me. I was never really on a public at that time. I realized that, to touch people.
Hey, Cassie, I'm sorry.
To start.
Hold on, can
Yes.
you repeat? Because it totally cut off there for a second. I think the internet's like really bad.
Okay,
Can
no
you repeat
worries.
what you just said? Sorry. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So initially I was speaking out just within my community, within my circles, within my family, within my patient population. And I never really went to the public platforms until, a couple years ago, maybe more so this past year, just because I saw how hard humans were getting hit with doubt, with fear, with limitation. There was some huge love within me that wanted people to remember, like, none of this has to be true for you. And to know that if we redirected our attention to something that would serve our souls, serve humanity, serve our healing, that we could get out of this in such a different, more beautiful way, right? Because even just like this idea to fight something, we can fight it in so many different ways. And the most beautiful thing I could think of is if within each individual, within each home, if we became so resilient, so whole, that nothing could capture our attention, nothing could make us question or waver, that it would have to collapse instead of fighting it, within it, trying to, break the cage from inside. What if, we came together and started reimagining what it is to be us and the power.
There is no cage.
Right.
Yeah.
And to know that part of our participation in putting ourselves in the cage, which is a heartbreaking thing to acknowledge, but it's also true. And so that's when I started wanting to, share, because I think the more of us that share our truth, that quit trying to hide behind, what our medical license allows us to say, what our neighbors, our friends, our family agree with, the more we can get out there and spread something that's true, that's honest, and that could help one soul, one person have a better day, have a little bit of optimism, then it's worth it. And so that's when I started, doing more of this public platform. But I think, probably just like you, even before we got here, we were weaving this into those that were within our reach. And I think if we all did that, even if you don't have a public platform, if you find a truth today, go weave that within your community, because that's the power, right? That's the action. If you learned something here, apply it within your community. And that's how this, the braiding, the magic, the weaving changes things. It's not just consuming and then coming and then presenting. And it's what do we do when we know this? Like, if you feel something true, go do something with it. Go empower somebody else. Go give somebody else some air. Go, uplift them, open their mind, open their hearts, instead of this, world of convincing right now, which we're doing it out of love. But anytime that you go to convince, you're going to be met with opposition. And so, I think that we need to be human in the way that we're trying to educate and share and love humans, because the other model, it doesn't resonate with me, and I know that it doesn't resonate.
I love what you just said about sharing. I have a therapist. She's a clairvoyant, and she would always tell me, have everything to share and nothing to prove, because it really shifts the energy from this desperate, I got to convince you, to this like love-based, hey, this is what I'm doing. You can come ask me what I'm doing because it's healing. Or not, well, whatever, do you.
Yeah, well, and then you don't lose that, and you don't, I remember when I fell in love with natural medicine, I wanted to, it's like that Oprah moment of, you get some, like everybody gets some because they want you to have it.
Yeah.
I'm so obsessed with it. And then the reaction from my family and my friends was just like, whoa, like pump the brakes, it's too much. But like on my side, it was like, I want you to feel what I'm feeling and love, like it's so great. And then I realized that like part of our draw to do it in that way too is to continue proving to ourselves, right? And so if we can
that
become,
ego,
right? If we can become, fall in love with the process of the experiencing, and it's the most beautiful demonstration of proof, right? Is us living in a way, not on this platform. Like if you ran into you or I out in public and we didn't know we were being seen, that's the proof, right? The proof is in how we live life, how we enjoy life, the things that often we don't come and present to people. The proof is when you go and apply something that seemed true to you and you felt different, right? I always talk about how we invest financially, and we are so aware of financial investments. We are so rigid, so strict. We do all of this before we ever financially invest in anything. And then we're so like, if we didn't get what we wanted from that investment, we will pull our money out so quickly, right? We don't do that energetically, and the energetic investments are the only true currency. And they're what gives you life, they're what gives other people life. And if we were as rigid and as aware of how we're investing energetically in everything that we consume, if we guarded that with the care that we guard our money, our bank account, what would our lives be like? What would just the enrichment of this experience be like? Because that's more true, and that's that proving that you're seeking is the experience. Because just like what you've experienced and what I've experienced is nobody can take that away from us. Nobody can come and say, oh, I have this study that says you can't reverse autoimmune conditions. Every time somebody tells me that, I just like laugh.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have to convince. I don't have to have a discussion. I'm not going to go pull research to prove the other, because I'm sitting here like, well, then.
It's like you are living proof. You went through it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you have that, that gives you that unshakable foundation, that thing that nobody can take from you. And that's what we're all grasping for, is that those truths that no matter what happens, you have that. And like if everything were to disappear and you and I couldn't connect and social media couldn't be a thing and you couldn't even call anyone and you were on your own, what would be true for you? What have you implemented to such a degree that they could never steal that from you? And like, where's the limit on that?
You just described something very scary, I bet, for most. Be like completely disconnected through technology, and then just be alone with themselves and their feelings and their thoughts. Who are you? What do you want?
Who are you? Yeah. And what have you incorporated, and what have you felt, and what have you experienced, and what, can you soothe yourself? Can you encourage yourself? Can you motivate yourself? Can you love yourself? Because the truth is if you're getting all of this goodness externally, you still haven't implemented it, right? Just like you can't implement somebody else's healing journey and believe it, right? There's going to be a point where you have to experience it for yourself, and then you have that unshakable nature, because anything other than that is counterfeit. And when it's counterfeit, you're not going to have certainty in it, right?
I love that, because that's really, it really is shifting away from society's way of doing things because of capitalism, I believe. But it's just like comparing to each other, which creates that competition. And when we're always comparing, we're always going to fall short, because we are unique ourselves, the individual. And if you're not looking at how you feel towards something yourself and only comparing, then you're not going to realize how you need to grow and how you need to heal yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful.
That's perfectly put too. And in the act of comparison, right, you're using the intellect, and the intellect is easily swayed. And that's why what's happening right now is the biggest distraction of all time. Just constant intellectual like consumption. And
Yeah.
anytime you start comparing, that's a very intellectual thing. To feel it is where you can know it. And so
Which is immediate. It's an immediate nonverbal connection, like you immediately know through the feeling, where the intellect comes in and tries to compare, and then it creates that confusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with
it's funny you mentioned.
Go ahead.
So, I was gonna say you mentioned that about currency, about like how we deal with money, which is very rigid, and we should do the same with these emotions. I asked Dr. Tommy John about this, about like, what does this new society, what would it look like? And he's like, well, money's not going to exist. Currency is going to be, what skill do you have? What can you offer to each other? And it's like, wow, that's exactly right. Like, what do you know? What are you doing with yourself that can create that energetic exchange with someone? That's going to be the new currency.
Yes. And like the same thing too. I love that so much, because like what is so unique and beautiful within you that you could bring that to the world, right? Because the other thing too, that just with working with people, is everybody feels so isolated, so small, so insignificant, so disconnected from everything. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And if we lived in a world that valued the divine, individuality within each of us, you would then go nourish that thing which only you have to come and bring. Like the way you see the world is valuable, the way you feel it, the way you hear it, something that you can create, something that only you can do. And that's true about each of us, but most of us have been so distracted by trying to become something that you can read, that you can study, that you can learn, that we haven't grown the thing within us that would nourish the world the most. And it's one of those things where we're starting to understand that there's a beautiful symphony in this world, right? That we're part of this quantum cosmic song. But right now we're all making the mistake of thinking we're all supposed to be the same note. And the truth is that you are just so unique unto your own that nobody else could play the note that you're going to play. And if you do not play it to the fullest, the song is off, the harmony is off. And so what if we all just started being fully who we were, and just start experimenting with it every single day of like, this is what's bursting through my heart, my soul, my truth, and I'm going to be brave enough to be this in the world instead of trying to duplicate and parrot and copy something that I've seen somebody else do, because we need more of what Tommy John mentioned, like this world where we
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat all? You're cutting off. You cut off. Right? I can't hear anything anymore. The audio cut off. Hold on a second. I don't know if it's me or you. Here, I disconnected. Talk. Say something. Yeah, we lost audio. It's on your side, I guess. Very weird. How about, well, yeah, plug it in. Maybe it'll work through the mic. And if not, just get out of the room and come back in, because then we won't lose the whole. Yeah, I still can't hear you. Here, so I'm gonna take you out of the room, and then I'm gonna invite you back in. Okay, so maybe that'll reset your audio. So real quick, 1 second. All right, guys, bear with me. IG's messing with us. Yeah, as soon as she said Tom John's name, probably. Let's see if she can come back in. Maybe it'll reset the audio. 1 second. Okay. Let's see if she connects. I invited her. Instagram has been messing with me, guys, this whole week. I'm not gonna lie. It says Dr. Cassie Huckabee is unable to join. Oh my goodness. Literally messing with my stuff. There we go.
Are we back?
She's back. Yes.
I can hear you.
Audio's back. I was talking to everyone. I was like, Instagram is as soon as we said Dr. Tommy John's name, boom.
It went down.
They went, nope, we're done.
Oh, goodness.
So just rewind back a little bit. You were talking about the notes and being a unique note and resonating in this world.
Yes.
And then you went off.
Yeah. Okay. So, from my perspective, I feel like we're all such an individual note, right? And when you're playing a song, you want that note to be played at its fullest. And if we were all playing at that level, the harmony within this world that we live in would be so beautiful. And then you would know that if your note left, right, how much it would be missed, how it would change the song, how it would change the harmony. And to fall in love with that truth right there, that you are supposed to be here, that there's something within you that can only be given through you, that can only come through you, that you're an experience of all that is here. And we need that perspective. We need that note to make this beautiful song all that it could be. Instead of us all trying to change ourselves in such a way that we're all playing the same note. Like nobody wants to listen to that song, and that's kind of the song.
Wow, that's such a beautiful analogy of really, it's really about self-love, about loving who you are, no matter what has happened in your past, no matter what you've been through. And really just embracing that and going through, allowing the journey to happen, allowing the note to resonate in whatever note it needs to resonate in. Yes. You actually, I wanted to point this out. You did a post a while back, which I loved, and it had to do with healing. And you wrote, healing is a cough, healing is mucus, healing is a sore throat, healing is a runny nose, healing is a fever. Healing is diarrhea. Healing is a pimple. Healing is a tumor. Healing is an antibody response. Healing is all the ugly, and it is so beautiful. I think that's just amazing because that's what that is. You're just, it's about loving the process, loving the darkness to then embrace the light. I mean, it's...
Yeah, and to know that it's all perfect, right? And that was one big thing for my own healing journey because I had acne and I had all of these expressions of my body trying to heal me. But my perception initially was that my body was messed up. And when you can switch that perception to my body is doing all of these things to keep me here and to keep me alive, it's such a beautiful love letter from your body of like, holy cow, this is how you're doing the best you can to keep me as well as you can. Even during those times where I was doing stuff to it that I, mindlessly didn't know how much I was damaging it through trying to suppress and trying to perfect and trying to all of these different things. And so when you fall in love with yourself, when you fall in love with the truth of what's real, it changes everything. You no longer look at a symptom and hate your body for doing it. You start looking at it as like, I'm expressing in this way. It's beautiful because it is expressing, right? I'm always
it's like looking at it as a communication. Like, okay, body, I hear you, I see. Okay,
yes,
I gotta look at what am I doing.
And now I'm gonna ally with you, and we're gonna get through this. And then it starts, letting you learn the language of your body too, because that's one of the most beautiful things that you can remember within yourself is that this thing is the closest thing to you, and the truth is that the only reason you're here is because you have this physical body. And so the unconditional love that should be here, and to look at the body as how it loves you unconditionally. we do the craziest stuff to it. We eat nasty junk. We do poison. All of these different things in the body. And every single moment is never like, you are an asshole and I'm done. I'm done with you, right? Every single day, as best it can, is like, I'm going to detox that. I'm going to go heal that. I'm going to go fix that. We're going to recover that as best we can. And like, fall in love with that romance. Fall in love with that unconditional love. And that's more true than anything that you're expecting to get from people in your world. Because the other thing too is you can't give something that you don't have, you haven't experienced. And so if you don't even love the thing closest to you, do you think any relationship you'll ever have will be this bliss-filled,
Oh, you just opened up a whole, I love that. That was good.
And it's true. It's true.
Yes.
And so then you apply this to everything we're experiencing right now. If you haven't managed this, then you haven't managed your relationships, then you haven't managed your family, then we haven't managed our communities, then why are we going to society right now begging for them to change? That's not the root. Like, we got to get down to where we have the power, and then we change it and it ripples, right? And so that's
so powerful.
Thing. And that's what I
and that's so powerful to really to like to remind the love that we should have for ourselves, and like fall back in love with our bodies and communicate with our bodies and practice. You're literally saying practice relationships with yourself, with your body first, and then that will transpire into the external relationships.
Absolutely. Well, and what it does too is like that should be the first marriage, right? Before we ever engage with anybody in a relationship or in a marriage or in any type of committed relationship, if you don't have that within you, if you haven't learned yourself to the degree of, the language of who you are and, falling in love with just what's right here closest to you, there's going to be a disturbance anytime you try to share that field with another individual. And so it's the most beautiful thing we can do. And the more you know you, the more you see you and everybody else too. You can't learn, we're mirrors for each other always. But the truth that we'll get are from us. And then when you fall in love with you, it is so hard to not love another human being. Because you know the intimacy of what you go through every day, your heartbreaks, your ups, your downs, all of those moments, and you can be in love with that. Then there is no human you will ever meet where you don't feel just completely in love with, right? Because you've fallen in love with the one that you've seen every bit of, right? And so it's this beautiful thing that you.
And that's what we mean by mirror too, right? Mirroring, seeing ourselves to then see ourselves in others.
Yeah. It's a beautiful.
Yeah, no, I love this. I think you've definitely given me a perspective of. I mean, I kind of I had my own understanding of it all, but you gave me some analogies that I'd never really thought of, which really like shifted the way I look at it now. So I appreciate that, and I'm sure everybody else appreciates it.
Yeah. Well, and to know too, I always fall in love with the fact that if something resonated within you, it had to, just like what you were saying, it had to have already been there. And that's beautiful too, and that's what we could do for each other.
And that's part of the journey to connect the dots and like hear different perspectives and growth. Yeah.
I even always talk about, you within your world, right? If you fall in love with a tree, flip it around and think maybe that tree fell in love with you. If you fell in love with those words were yearning, maybe there's so much more beauty, so much more connection that we can't even them. And because every time I go into this world, it's like this is more true than anything we've ever been told is real. And it changes everything. It changes connection. It changes our place in this world. And the moment was co-created through you and I. Hope you left.
I love that. Sorry, I cut off there for a second. I love that. I mean, you've given that the perspective is so unique. Now, I have a question. Do you have what's something you could recommend as a spiritual practice, or do you have any spiritual practices to ground and to because it's really easy, especially because of 2020, to be reactive. People believing different things, and you getting those interactions in real life, and the tension goes up. So what kind of practices would you recommend?
Yeah, I love that. I think for me, once I started realizing that every moment is an opportunity, a spiritual practice, every moment that you can be fully in these moments, because that connects you to what is true and what's real. Anytime you start thinking, you go unconscious and you start playing out programs. So in every moment that you can be fully here, right? I'm fully here with you. You have my full attention in this moment. And then when we're done here, my patient will have my full attention. Then my meal has my full attention. The flavors, the textures, never try to act like any moment is something you've already experienced. If you start looking at your reality as you have never tasted this flavor before, you have never touched this before, you will never have a moment like this ever again. And to appreciate and be fully in every moment that you're given. That's the most powerful spiritual practice I've ever done, because I started realizing how much I wasn't even in my world. So how can you receive the beauty, the offerings, the synchronicities if you're not even here? If you're not even paying attention to what's right in front of your face because you think you've experienced it before. And so I think that's the most empowering spiritual practice, because you don't need a guru for it. You don't need a book. You don't need to sit in meditation. It's one of those things where your life is your meditation, your life is your prayer, your life is your medicine. And every moment has an offering that, if you're available to it, it could just overflow with all of those things for you. And to know that, even like one of the things I do first thing in the morning with my showers is I feel the shower. I don't just shower thinking about what the rest of my day is going to be like. I smell the water, feel the water, try to feel it on my feet, try to feel it all over me all at once. Because there's so much even just with that there's nothing that we're there for. And we're expecting beauty from a world that we're not even present in. And so if we could, start with your shower, feel it, smell it, touch it, let it touch you back. Did you experience it differently in all the days that you planned your day in the shower?
I love that. Yeah, because that's something, I've heard this before from someone saying, where focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
And if you're in the moment and you're focusing on that thing that you're doing, the energy is being transacted through that action and through that experience. Yeah. And especially with water, water is like so powerful.
Create resonance, speak words to your water, change the structure of what is available to you.
Dr. Emoto, about Dr. Emoto.
We can, and we have the capacity to do these amazing things, but nobody has measured, structuring your water through your words in your morning shower. So we don't think that it's medicine. Every single moment of my day when I'm in it is medicine for me. Anytime that I go unconscious is when it can start, swaying on the edges, right? But for the most part, if you're in your world, every sip of water is medicine, every taste of food, every human interaction, every trigger, everything becomes medicine. And it becomes this play, it becomes this dance, it becomes, I want more. I want to be here more. I want to feel more. I want to see more. I want to touch more. I want to hear more. Instead of this world where we want to be so far away, so untouched, so unmoved, because we're so, resistant to feeling the intensity of emotions. And let yourself feel. And when you let yourself feel, you've got to have the capacity to feel both ends, because that's being human. You're going to hurt, and it's going to hurt deep. But then you're going to love, and it's going to be you're going to just go into a rapture, because your capacity to be here is heightened, right? And this is, again, going into that quantum realm of you control your experience here. You open your gates of perception and you close them. And it's up to you how intensely and how in depth and how much you want to be touched by your life and the experience you have because of that.
Wow, so beautiful. You have a way with words. Really, really well said, and just a perspective that is unique to explain that interconnectedness of this reality. I love it. We're nearing that hour. I wanted to kind of touch on Grit Natural. I know
Yeah.
that you have this whole separate page for that. So what is that exactly?
Yeah, so Grit Natural Medicine is my practice. I created it because I wanted to be able to say these things. I wanted to be able to give people hope. And in the other model, it was actually against the law in multiple ways to give people hope. And I didn't resonate with that. I didn't resonate with putting limitations on human beings. So I had to create my own and do it my own way. And so I created Grit Natural Medicine. And the word actually came through my experience of like what helped me get better. Because it wasn't one herb, it wasn't one practice, it wasn't one singular anything, it was the whole thing. And the one thing that kept me in it every single day was this thing that I found to be grit. And I grew up in West Texas too, and my dad always talked about,
I love it. It just clicked. There it is.
Yeah, so it came back full circle, and it's like, that's exactly it. It was that determination to wake up every day, even when it didn't feel good, to choose and to choose again and to choose again. And when you know to stay on the path and not to give up too soon. And that's when you get those miracles. That's when you get those results where you will never go back. You can't. You're so changed that you could never go back to what you were before. And so then I created that so that I could then offer that type of medicine to people who were ready for it, to people who were ready to break down those walls, look into the psyche, look into their programs, look into everything that has kept them from having exactly what they know they could have. And so that's what I created Grit for. It's my passion, it's my heart, it's my service to people. And yeah, it's been beautiful and met so many beautiful people, and I learn, and so many of my patients, eventually I'll get them telling their stories because they're just mind-blowing. The things people do, and they do it on their own. I'm not showing up every single morning doing these things for them. They're making these deliberate choices every single day to change their lives. And so that's just a space where I support them, where I hold space with them and engage with them and co-create healing with people. Beautiful, beautiful people. So yeah, it's my practice. It's my love child.
You are such an inspiration. I love your energy. I love your vibration. I mean, you are your willingness to speak and to be out there at the front lines, just speaking your truth. Yeah. I so much appreciate your time and energy. Is there last thing that you want to leave people with, or maybe do a plug?
I think every time, like I said, we never know when our last moment is. And like, if this is our last talk, my last opportunity to co-create with any human being, I always want to leave people with the most ultimate truth I've ever found, which is, if it is possible, it's possible within you. And if you can achieve it through a program, a pill, anything, you can do it on your own. And that's more true than anything else. Any program, any procedure, any pill, any substance, that you by yourself in your room could do everything that you've seen in miracles and the greatest things that you've ever heard that a human being can do. You have it all within you, all right now, all in this moment, and you need nothing. You don't need anybody. You have it all right now. And that is the biggest truth that I wish somebody would have told me, in those low moments, in the moments where I wanted to give up, in those moments where it seemed too big and too messy and too ugly, that the beauty is all right here and you just have to open up to it.
I love that. That's so good. Yes, take back your power. It's in you to do it.
Yes.
And I just want to say, I've been seeing people say Billy. Do you have a dog or a cat named Billy?
Billy's my cat.
Because my dog, I just lost, because I had a Yorkie, a 17-year-old dog. I literally 2 weeks ago I had to put him down because he was just really old, and his name's Billy.
Oh,
so I'm like,
goodness.
Why are you talking about my dog?
Why are we talking about Billy? So Billy is my Persian cat, and he often makes an appearance. He's kind of the celebrity in the office. He's around somewhere.
Okay.
I could go snag him, but.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Carey. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You've definitely, at the very least, incentivized me to start singing in the shower. I will probably start doing that.
Enjoy it every moment. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. Love you guys.
Bye,
Love you.
everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.